Kia ora everyone, it's Rupert here. Now we've already done a video about mindset and we talked about fixed and growth mindset. And now I want to talk to you about Agile mindset, especially Agile mindset in teams. People talk a lot about the Agile mindset and it's a bit of a tricky thing to define. It's the values behind the way we think. It shapes the way that we make decisions together. It's quite up in the air, cloudy. So often when we're talking about mindset, we also need practices to be in the conversation. Practices give us something concrete against the abstract. So you want a bit of a balance between mindset and practices. Practices gives us something grounded that we can do every day to develop our way of thinking and the way that we make decisions. Whereas mindset is something a bit more abstract that we can use to give us guidance when we're trying to figure out what practices that we want to adopt. In short, we need them both. So you might be thinking, how do I actually grow an agile mindset in my team? And there's no easy answer for this one. It just takes time. When you're trying to grow a mindset, especially in a team, you can't just flip a switch and expect the way that you think to change overnight. It's going to take a little bit of effort every day over a long period of time. Often teams who might be newer to agile ways of working will tend to use a framework like Scrum, which is a bit more prescriptive, that gives them some kind of practices that they can be grounded in. And that will help them. It's like training wheels to develop their mindset as they go. For example, let's talk about retrospectives. If you're trying to build that habit of continuous improvement, you're trying to build in that attitude into everything that you do, how do you start? Well, lots of teams will begin by having a retrospective every couple of weeks. They'll take that moment to reflect, and then as they get more used to doing regular reflection, it just becomes baked into the way that they do things, and it becomes part of the mindset, continuous improvement. So after some time, once your team has been doing this practice of continuous improvement, this retrospective every couple of weeks, you might actually be noticing it that you're doing it without thinking every day. It just happens. And so you don't necessarily need to have this meeting every 2 weeks to make it happen. So you started off with some training wheels, let's do it every 2 weeks, but you've ended up with just a continuous practice where it's baked into everything that you do. And that's ideally where we're trying to get to when we're talking about using practices as a training wheel for growing our mindset. So your practices are going to grow and evolve over time as your mindset grows and evolves as a team. And that doesn't mean, for example, that you're never going to do retrospectives again. It just means that perhaps you've found a different way of doing continuous improvement right now. The important thing is that you understand why you do retrospectives and you're seeking that continuous improvement, but you've just found a different way to achieve that same outcome. If the outcome is the same, but you've found a way that's better for your team, then power to you.
When it comes to team practices, what you'll find is that it is actually quite easy to pick up something like Scrum, the practices and principles from Kanban, but sometimes teams don't actually go any faster than they were going in the beginning before they picked it up. In fact, sometimes teams can become bitter and annoyed at the fact that they're spending a lot of time in meetings, more so than they were in the past, and they're not seeing any value. But therein lies the problem. What's happened is the mindset piece is missing. And at this point, all the teams feel like they're doing is a tick box exercise, and they're just doing things like stand up for the sake of stand up. Teams then tend to spiral into negativity, and they become bitter and disinterested in doing any practices at all. So they stop. So what's missing? That growth mindset. The willingness to continually improve, ask why about the work that you're doing, and grow as a team together. When you're so busy all the time, it can feel like all these different ceremonies and meetings can be an overhead, but they're actually the very thing that will save you from going down the wrong path when it comes to teamwork. Being curious about the work that you do as a team, as a wider business unit, and as an organization is what's going to set you apart from your competitors in the market. So in short, it can be quite easy when it comes to doing the practices, doing Agile, but being Agile, looking at the values and the principles that underpin the practices, those are what is going to be more valuable to you than just blindly following a tick box.
So let's wrap it up a little bit now. Actually, not even a little bit.
Let's wrap it up fully.
All right, let's go over one of the key points that we talked about today around agile mindset. So one of the things we said was that you want both. You need practices, you need mindset, and they need to be all in balance with each other. You don't want to be blindly following practices without understanding why, without understanding the mindset behind those practices.
And if you're in a team and you're feeling like you're going through a negative space when it comes to practices, remember that there are values and principles that underpin it. And it might pay to go back and as a team reflect on whether or not you're looking at those first and not just doing the Agile. So thanks for watching today. Feel free to like and comment on the video and give us some feedback on how we can improve. Cheers.
Nice. See ya.